Hi.
We were lying in the same bed when she suddenly started acting strange. At first, I thought she was just restless, turning onto her side, adjusting the sheets, letting out small sighs like something was on her mind. It wasn't unusual. People have bad days. But tonight, there was something different about the way she moved. Her body felt tense, like she was waiting for something. I shifted onto my side, watching her. "You okay?" She flinched, just for a second. Then she turned her face toward me, her expression carefully blank. "Yeah," she said. "Just thinking. I didn't push. I should have." Instead, I stared at the ceiling, waiting for sleep to come, but my brain wouldn't shut off. Because this wasn't the first time she'd been like this. The past few months, something had changed between us. We still laughed. We still talked. But there was this distance, like she was keeping part of herself walled off. I told myself I was imagining it. Stress from work. Maybe she was just tired of the routine. We'd been together 7 years. That kind of thing happened, right? But then there were the late nights. The sudden need to keep her phone face down. The muted notifications. The way she sometimes smelled faintly of cologne that wasn't mine when she came home from running errands. I wanted to believe there was an innocent explanation. I wanted to trust her. But tonight, lying next to her in the dark, I felt it in my gut. Something was wrong. The next morning, she was back to normal. Smiling, kissing me on the cheek, making coffee like nothing had happened. "Big plans today?" I asked casually, watching her pour herself a cup. She hesitated. It was so brief I might have missed it if I weren't looking for it. "Not really. Just some errands." There it was again. Errands. The same vague excuse. I nodded and let it go. But inside, something tightened in my chest. I wasn't the type to snoop. I believed in trust. But trust is a two-way street, and lately, I felt like I was walking alone. That night, I did something I never thought I'd do. While she was in the shower, I picked up her phone. My hands felt clammy as I flipped it over. Locked, of course. But I already knew her passcode. I stared at the numbers. If I was wrong, if I was just being paranoid, this would be a massive betrayal of trust. But if I was right, my fingers hovered over the screen. Then I heard the water shut off. I put the phone down so fast I nearly dropped it. She stepped out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, her hair damp, her face relaxed. But when she saw me near the nightstand, near her phone, her entire body tensed. Just for a second. Then, just like last night, she forced a smile. "Everything okay?" I forced one back. "Yeah." She climbed into bed, setting the phone face down again. I didn't sleep much that night. Over the next few days, I kept watching. Not in an obvious way, but I started paying closer attention. Patterns started forming. She had become obsessed with her phone, always tilting it away from me. Sometimes, I'd hear the faint ding of a notification, and she'd swipe it away before I could even glance over. And then there were the sudden outings. She'd leave in the middle of the day, claiming she had things to do, but she always came back a little too happy, a little too distracted. Like she was still lost in some other world, some other moment that didn't include me. I needed answers. So one evening, when she told me she was going to the store, I waited a few minutes. Then I followed her. My hands were shaking as I gripped the steering wheel, staying a few cars behind her. I felt ridiculous, like some jealous, insecure husband who couldn't handle his wife having a life outside of him. But deep down, I already knew. She wasn't going to the store. She was meeting someone, and I was about to find out who. I kept my distance as I followed her, my heart pounding harder with every turn she took. She wasn't heading toward the store. She wasn't even going anywhere familiar. Instead, she pulled into the parking lot of a small cafe on the other side of town, a place we'd never been together. I parked a few spaces away, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Then I saw him. A man was already waiting inside. Late 30s, sharp suit, confident posture. He smiled the moment he saw her walk in. She smiled back. Not the polite, distant kind of smile you give a stranger. No, this was different. This was warm.
Familiar.
Intimate. I watched as they sat in a quiet corner. She leaned in close, laughing at something he said. Her hand brushed his on the table. He didn't pull away. Neither did she. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I wanted to storm inside, flip the table, demand an explanation. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I pulled out my phone and took a picture. If she was gonna lie to my face again, I wanted proof. Then I drove home, my mind racing. She had no idea I knew. Not yet. I got home before she did. I sat in the dark, staring at the picture on my phone. My fingers hovered over her contact, debating whether to call her, demand answers right now. But no, not yet. I wanted to see what she would say, if she would lie to my face again. An hour later, she walked through the door, keys jingling as she set them down. "Hey," she said, sounding completely normal. Too normal. I grabbed a few things from the store. I looked at her, my expression blank. "Yeah? What did you get?" She hesitated, just for a second. "Oh, just some stuff for the house. I left it in the car. I'll grab it later." I nodded slowly. "You sure that's where you were?" Her smile faltered. "What?" I pulled out my phone and turned the screen toward her. The picture. Her sitting across from him. The laughter. The hand on the table. The color drained from her face. For a moment, we just stared at each other, the silence thick between us. Then she swallowed hard and let out a shaky breath. "It's not what it looks like," she whispered. I let out a bitter laugh. "Then why don't you tell me what it is?" She opened her mouth, then closed it again. She had nothing, and that told me everything I needed to know. She took a step back like she needed space to think, or to come up with a believable excuse. I was going to tell you," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I scoffed. "Tell me what? That you've been sneaking around behind my back? That you've been meeting him?" I held up my phone again. "You smiled at him like you used to smile at me." Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't sure if they were from guilt or just the fact that she had been caught. "It's not what you think," she tried again. He's just a friend." I clenched my jaw. "A friend?" She nodded quickly. Too quickly. "Yes, I swear. We were just talking." I exhaled sharply, shaking my head. "Do you think I'm stupid? I watched you. I saw the way you leaned in, how you touched his hand." I took a step closer. "You don't do that with just a friend." She wiped her face, her whole body tense like a cornered animal. It didn't mean anything. I swear, it was a mistake. A mistake." That word sat in my chest like a burning coal. You don't accidentally meet someone at a cafe. You don't accidentally smile like that. You don't accidentally hide your phone and start lying. My voice was steady, but inside, I felt like something inside me was shattering. She swallowed hard, but still, she didn't say the words I needed to hear. She didn't admit it. I wanted her to be honest, to own it, but she just stood there, silent. And in that silence, I had my answer. She wasn't going to tell the truth. I was done waiting for it. I stood there, gripping my phone so hard my knuckles ached. "Say it," I demanded. She blinked at me, her breathing uneven. "Say what?" "The truth." My voice was eerily calm, but inside, I was boiling. "Say what I already know." Tears spilled down her cheeks, but I didn't feel bad for her. She wasn't the victim here. She hesitated. "It wasn't supposed to happen." There it was. Not a denial, not an excuse, just a pathetic, whispered admission that cut through me like a blade. "How long?" I asked. She shook her head, wiping her face like she could erase the damage. "It doesn't matter. It's over. It didn't mean anything." I let out a bitter laugh. "It matters to me." Silence. And then, the worst part, she didn't answer right away. She looked away, like she was trying to do the math, like she had to think about it. That was all I needed. I turned, walking toward the bedroom. "Wait!" She rushed after me, her voice frantic. "Please, just listen." I yanked open the closet, grabbed the small safe I kept hidden behind my clothes, and pulled out the envelope. Her face went pale the moment she saw it. Yeah. She knew exactly what it was. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. I looked her dead in the eyes. "You left it in your car." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. And in that moment, I saw it, pure, raw panic. This wasn't just about some random guy at a cafe. This was bigger, something she had been hiding. And now I was about to find out the truth. She lunged forward, trying to snatch it from my hands. "Give it to me," she said, her voice high and desperate. I stepped back, my grip tightening on the envelope. "Why? What's in here that you don't want me to see?" Her face crumpled. "It's nothing. Please, just—" I ripped it open. The contents slid into my palm, and the second I saw what was inside, my stomach dropped. A birth certificate. And not just any birth certificate. A child's. My hands shook as I scanned the details. The name, the date of birth. And then, my eyes landed on the father's name. It wasn't mine. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. "What the hell is this?" My voice was low, almost unrecognizable. She covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. I didn't know how." I stared at her, my chest rising and falling in ragged breaths. "How long have you been lying to me?" Silence. Then, barely audible, she whispered, "For years. For years." I let out a hollow laugh, shaking my head. "So this isn't just some random affair. This is a whole kid. A kid that I had no idea existed." My voice cracked, the weight of it all crushing me. She sobbed. "I swear. It ended before you and I got married. I thought it didn't matter anymore." I clenched my jaw. "Didn't matter?" She wiped her face. "I didn't think you'd ever find out. It wasn't supposed to matter." I took a step back, my hands trembling. "You stole 4 years of my life," I said, my voice cold. "You let me build a future with you, thinking we were a family. And all this time, you were hiding this." Her lip quivered. I was scared. I shook my head, disgusted. "No. You weren't scared. You were selfish." She opened her mouth, but I was done listening. I turned away, my heart hammering in my chest. My world had just collapsed. But I wasn't about to go down without a fight. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I stood there, the birth certificate clenched in my fist, my mind spinning. For years of marriage built on a lie. For years of her looking me in the eye, telling me she loved me, pretending like we were building a life together. While she hid this, I wasn't just betrayed. I was played. And I wasn't going to let her walk away without consequences. She was still crying, trying to explain, but I wasn't listening anymore. My rage had burned through the hurt. Now all I felt was cold, calculating clarity. She had taken something from me. Now I was going to take something from her. I turned to her, my voice eerily calm. "Who knows?" She sniffled. What? Who else knows about this?" She hesitated. I narrowed my eyes. "Does he know?" "The father." Her shoulders trembled. "No." That was all I needed to hear. I nodded slowly, my mind already piecing together my next move. "Get out." She flinched. "What?" Pointed at the door. "You heard me. Get your things and get out." Her lip quivered. "Please, don't do this." I tilted my head. "You did this." She sobbed, but I just watched her. I wanted to feel something for her, some shred of the love I used to have. But there was nothing left. As she packed, I grabbed my laptop and started typing. If her lover didn't know about the kid, he was about to. And that was just the beginning. As she threw her clothes into a bag, hiccuping through sobs, I crafted my message. Short, precise, devastating. I found him easily enough. The guy from the cafe, his name, his job, even his wife. Yeah, he was married too. I smirked bitterly. Guess betrayal runs in the family. I typed out the email. Subject: "You deserve to know the truth." Hey, his name. "I thought you might want to know that you have a 4-year-old child. My wife has been hiding it from both of us. Thought it was only fair you got a say in that kid's life." Attached: birth certificate. I stared at the screen for a moment, then hit send. There. That was step 1. She had kept this secret for 4 years, thinking she could control who knew, thinking she could shape the narrative to fit whatever lie made her life easier. Not anymore. Where are you gonna go? I asked casually, watching her shove her things into a suitcase. She sniffled. I don't know. Not my problem, I said, leaning back. But you might want to check your phone soon. She stopped. What do you mean? I shrugged, feigning innocence. Let's just say, your past is about to catch up with you. Her face went pale as she grabbed her phone. The second she saw whatever message or call she'd just received, she gasped. She looked at me, horror in her eyes. You told him? I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. You told me it didn't matter. So why does it matter now? She clutched her phone, shaking her head. You don't understand. No. I cut her off. You don't understand. You made your choices. Now you deal with them. She turned, bolting for the door like she could outrun the storm I had just unleashed. But it was too late. This was only the beginning. She was gone. For the first time in years, the house was silent. No murmured phone calls in the other room. No forced laughter at the dinner table. Just the hum of the fridge and the ticking of the clock on the wall. I should have felt empty. But all I felt was the slow, cold satisfaction of knowing I had just flipped her world upside down. I didn't have to wait long for the next part of my plan to take effect. An hour later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I smirked. I had a feeling I knew exactly who it was. I let it ring twice before answering. A deep, angry voice came through the line. Who the hell is this? I leaned back, stretching out on the couch. The guy whose wife you've been screwing behind his back. Sound familiar? There was silence, just heavy breathing. Then, a low, barely controlled. What the F*** are you talking about? I chuckled, slow and deliberate. Check your email. A pause. Then I heard frantic clicking, a sharp inhale, and finally, rage. You're lying, he snapped. I raised an eyebrow. Am I? More silence. I pictured him staring at the birth certificate, at his own name listed as the father of a child he never knew existed. You expect me to believe this? He said, but his voice wavered now. I don't care what you believe, I said, but maybe you should ask her. I hung up before he could respond. A minute later, my phone buzzed again. I didn't answer. Let her sit in it. Let her watch her world burn. I wasn't done yet. I watched my phone light up again. Then again. Her name. Then his name. Then an unknown number, probably his wife. I didn't answer any of them. I just sat there, letting the chaos unfold. Part of me wondered how she was handling it. Was she trying to explain, to spin some new lie? Or was she just drowning in her own guilt, knowing there was no way out? I didn't care. What mattered was that, for the first time, she was the one scrambling for control. A few hours later, I got a text. Her. What did you do? I smirked. Took my time before replying. Me. I gave him what you never did. The truth. 3 dots appeared. Then they disappeared. Then nothing. I exhaled, stretching my arms over my head. It was almost too easy. But the real reward came later that night. I got another message, this time from an unknown number. But I knew exactly who it was. Him. You ruined my ***ing life. Asterisk. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. The nerve of this guy. Me. Oh, I think you and my wife handled that just fine on your own. No response. But I imagined the destruction on his end. His wife finding out. His whole carefully crafted life crumbling just like mine had, except I had the advantage. I saw it coming. He didn't. I poured myself a drink, letting the moment sink in. It wasn't over yet. There was still one last thing I needed to do. The next morning, I woke up to a quiet house. No messages, no missed calls. Just silence. I checked online, her social media was gone. Wiped clean. Probably hiding, probably hoping this would all blow over. But I wasn't done yet. I grabbed the envelope again, staring at the birth certificate. For years that guy didn't know he had a son. And now he'd have to explain that to his real wife. I made one last phone call. To his company. A polite conversation with HR. A few well-placed words about workplace ethics and extramarital activities. And I knew his perfect little life was about to crumble completely. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. Her, "You need to stop." I smiled. "Me, no, you needed to stop. 4 years ago." This time, she didn't reply. I didn't need her to, because I had finally taken back control. I had lost a wife, but I had won something better. My freedom.
Bye.